In this lesson, we're going to introduce the Electronic Flight Instrument System, EFIS. It replaces several of the conventional instruments with which you're familiar. Aircraft equipped with EFIS are called glass cockpit. The EFIS consists of 4 screens, 2 on the captain's main instrument panel and 2 on the first officer's side. There are 2 EFIS control panels, 1 on each side of the glare shield. There are very few controls for the EFIS because it is displaying information from other sources. The same information is presented to both the captain's and first officer's EFIS. The controls are identical on both sides, so in this chapter we will only look at the captain's EFIS. Let's take a closer look. This is the EFIS on the captain's side, as it appears when you enter the cockpit. It consists of 2 identical cathode ray tubes, CRTs. The top screen is normally dedicated to the primary flight display, PFD, and the lower of the 2 screens is dedicated to the NAV display, ND. When you arrive in the cockpit, you must switch on the PFD and the ND using these switches. We will start with the PFD. Both the PFD and ND on-off brightness switches are rotary type. You can increase the brightness by rotating the switch. Rotate the PFD switch clockwise. No, you should have selected. When you're not using the EFIS screens, for example when changing crew, you should turn the screen down to protect it. Let's now briefly consider what type of information is displayed on the EFIS screens, starting with the PFD. The PFD groups information conventionally shown on traditional needle instruments. The PFD displays aircraft attitude, pitch, roll and yaw. Altitude deviation and radio altitude are shown. An ILS display. Decision height also appears in cases of Category 2 and 3 approach, and airspeed and Mach numbers. The Flight Mode Annunciator, FMA, is shown on the top of the PFD. Now we'll look at the purpose of the ND. There are different types of display available. In this mode, the ND is displaying a conventional HSI. The ND displays the flight plan as it is entered on and computed by the flight management system and shows the aircraft progress in relation to this flight plan. The ND always provides aircraft track and heading information, shows additional information such as nav aids, airports and waypoints, provides both raw electronic and computed radio nav information, replaces conventional weather radar displays. The ND also displays the numerical values of true airspeed, ground speed and wind velocity. Wind direction is also represented by a pointer, and ILS information is also displayed on the ND as well as on the PFD. Let's briefly consider where the information for the EFIS comes from. The EFIS information is supplied by EFIS symbol generator units, SGUs. Normally, SGU-1 drives the captain's side and SGU-2 drives the first officer's. There is a third SGU. It acts as a backup and can drive either side, but only one side at a time. The SGUs are fed information from a variety of sources, such as the inertial reference system, flight management computer, and auto flight system computers. On this aircraft, the EFIS groups information displayed by several different traditional instruments. Select each of the labels: the ADF RMIs, the VOR RMIs, the VSI, and the altimeter have been relegated to secondary instruments. The compass, the artificial horizon, and the ASI are now standby instruments. The radio altimeter, ILS indicator, weather radar, and HSI are redundant and have been removed from this aircraft. The flight modes are displayed on the top of the PFD, so the separate Flight Mode Annunciator, FMA, has also been removed. At first, the EFIS looks complicated, but don't be afraid of it. The information is clear once you know what to look for. In the glass cockpit, you will concentrate on the EFIS, but you will compare it with the secondary flight instruments. Soon you'll develop a new scanning technique. The bottom screen, usually used as the ND, is partly masked by the control column. Sometimes you may need a better view of the ND, for example when checking your flight plan. On some aircraft, it is possible to switch the PFD and the ND on the EFIS display using the PFD-ND transfer switch on the switching panel. Do this now. That concludes our overview of the EFIS. In the next 3 lessons, we'll look at how the information is displayed on each of the screens.